theme: power imbalance, injustice, and a spark of recognition in chaos. Emotional focus: public humiliation, courage under fire, and the CEO's silent awakening. The chandeliers glittered like frozen stars above the ballroom, but Zara felt as invisible as the scuff on her borrowed flats. She stood in the corner of the hotel's grand banquet hall, balancing a tray of champagne flutes, ignored by everyone dressed in silks and suits. She knew her place, beneath notice, beneath judgment, beneath worth. That's what life in the slums had taught her. But tonight, everything was about to change. At the far end of the hall, a man stood on the stage, tapping his glass for silence. Mr. Malik, a bloated executive with a rehearsed smile and wine-stained lips, beamed as the crowd turned to him. Ladies and gentlemen, we are thrilled to announce a record-breaking donation for the Children's Literacy Initiative, 10 million rupees. He gestured to the screens behind him. All thanks to our generous partners and this young lady. Zara froze. The spotlight hit her like a bullet. She was responsible for collecting and documenting the pledges. A brilliant girl from humble beginnings. See, even slum kids can be useful when guided. Laughter. A few claps. Her face burned. She hadn't authorized that figure. It wasn't even close. She'd counted 4 million. 5 at best. Excuse me, Zara called out, her voice trembling. There must be a mistake. Mr. Malik's smile hardened. A mistake? You're not suggesting you mishandled corporate donations, are you? Whispers spread like wildfire. Phones lifted. Someone live-streamed. Zara's hands shook. No, I'm saying I never received that amount. Someone's added zeros that don't exist. A beat of silence. Then Mr. Malik's expression twisted with faux shock. Are you accusing the foundation of fraud? In front of our CEO? Zara glanced instinctively toward the head table. And there he was. Ian Khalid, 35. Steel-cut jaw. Icy eyes like winter storms. The youngest billionaire in the country. Untouchable. And right now he was watching her. Not blinking. Not moving. Just watching. Security. Malik snapped, voice tightening. Escort the girl out. She's clearly overwhelmed. Don't touch me. Zara backed away as 2 guards approached. She looked at Ian again. For a breathless second, their eyes locked. He said nothing. He didn't lift a hand. She was on her own. I didn't lie, she whispered, fists clenched. Check the records. I logged everything. One of the guards grabbed her arm. Let go of me, she shouted. The tray of glasses clattered to the marble floor. Champagne splashed her skirt. Gasps erupted. I have the spreadsheet, she shouted, yanking her phone from her apron. Right here. See for yourself. There's no 10 million. Just 5. Someone's trying to bury their fraud under my name. A sudden silence. Mr. Malik's face drained of color. That phone contains company property. Seize it. But before the guards could reach her, a voice cut through the chaos. Let her speak. Everyone turned. Ian was standing now, still as a statue, but sharp as a blade. Mr. Malik stammered, Sir, she's... I said, let her speak. The guards backed off. Zara's heart thundered as she walked forward, unlocking the spreadsheet. Her voice shook, but didn't break. These are the real entries. Logged with timestamps. Verified. The extra 5 million was added after I submitted my report by someone with backhand access. Eyes turned to Mr. Malik. Zara looked straight at Ian, daring him to dismiss her. You wanted a donation? Here's the truth. Maybe stop laundering your conscience through girls like me. For a second, no one breathed. Then Ian spoke low, lethal. Take Mr. Malik to the side room. Audit his transactions tonight. Mr. Malik paled. Sir, Now. The guards turned. Zara watched, stunned, as the very men who tried to drag her out were now dragging him away. Then Ian turned back to her. What's your name? She hesitated. Zara. His expression gave nothing away.
Zara.
You're hired. She blinked. Hired? I need someone who doesn't tremble in front of snakes. With that, He turned and walked off the stage, his coat swishing like a curtain falling on the first act of a storm. Zara stood frozen in place, soaked in champagne, stunned in silence, while the world that had always spat on her suddenly noticed. And she had no idea what storm she had just walked into. Theme: power imbalance begins to shift, emotional awakening starts. Emotional focus: defiance, respect, and the first spark of something deeper. Dramatic purpose: Zora's integrity forces Ayan to act and feel. Zara didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her cot in the tiny one-room shanty, still wearing the champagne-stained skirt, her phone clenched in her hand. Outside, the muffled chaos of the slums buzzed: barking dogs, a child crying, the metallic clang of a distant generator. But inside her chest, there was only silence. What had she done? She had stared down a CEO in a ballroom full of billionaires and walked away not in handcuffs, but with a job offer. That had to be a joke. Or a trap. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the rusted metal door. Not a light tap, a sharp, commanding knock. She opened it cautiously and froze. A man in a black suit stood there, clean-shaven, earpiece coiled into his collar. A luxury black car idled behind him. "Miss Zara," he said briskly, "Mr. Ayan Khalid has requested your presence." She blinked. Now. She expected an office, maybe a boardroom. Instead, the car pulled up to a mansion that looked like it had stepped out of a magazine: glass, steel, marble fountains whispering in the darkness. The driver opened the door, but no one guided her. She stepped in alone. It was silent, cold, impossibly vast. A living room the size of a school auditorium, but with barely any furniture. Just minimalist design and the smell of money. And then she heard footsteps. He emerged from a hallway in a black button-down shirt, sleeves rolled up, like he'd just walked out of war or art. Something dangerous. Ayan Khalid. Every step he took sounded like judgment. "You came," he said simply. "I didn't think I had a choice," she replied, standing stiffly, arms crossed. "You always have a choice. That's what people like you forget." She narrowed her eyes. "People like me?" "People who think courage is enough to survive." She stepped forward. Maybe not enough to survive, but enough to not rot in silence. A flicker crossed his face. Not annoyance. Something more dangerous. Interest. He walked past her, poured a glass of water, and handed it to her wordlessly. She didn't take it. "I don't need a job handed to me out of guilt." He tilted his head. "Who said anything about guilt? I need someone who sees through lies. Someone unshakable. Or just someone who makes a good story," she bit back. "Poor girl from the slums becomes your next PR puppet." He paused, then set the glass down untouched. "You're not wrong. That's exactly how your file was pitched to me by marketing. But I don't need another puppet. I need someone who doesn't need me." Silence stretched between them. "I was told your father was once part of our driver rotation," he added suddenly. "Is that true?" Zara flinched. "He was. Until someone accused him of stealing. No one listened." He studied her. "What if I told you I do listen?" She exhaled. "Then I'd say you've had every opportunity to prove it, and you never did. Not until it made a scene." The words hit harder than she intended, but he didn't react with anger. Instead, he nodded slowly, as if she'd confirmed something he already knew. "You'll start tomorrow. 9 a.m. executive floor. My assistant will contact you." Zara stared. "You still want me?" A shadow flickered in his gaze. "Especially now." She hesitated, then walked toward the door. But before leaving, she turned. "I won't bow. Not even for 10 million. His eyes burned into hers. "Good. I wouldn't believe you if you did." Outside, as the mansion's iron gates rolled open and she stepped back into the cool night air, Zara felt something shift in her chest. Not victory, not safety, but power. For the first time, she'd rattled a man who ruled cities. And tomorrow, she would walk into his world. On her own terms. Theme: power versus integrity, control versus emotion. Emotional focus: Unspoken attraction, internal conflict, and professional tension. Dramatic purpose. Ayan begins to lose control of his detachment. Zara's fire draws attention and enemies. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. Zara stepped out, heels clicking on polished marble, eyes wide but steady. The executive floor of Khalid Enterprises didn't look like a workplace. It looked like a private art museum. Stark black walls, huge abstract canvases, chilled air scented with sandalwood. Everyone walked fast, spoke low, and didn't make eye contact. Except one. She's the new assistant to the CEO. A woman in a pencil skirt whispered, not bothering to lower her voice. Seriously? Did HR get drunk? Zara ignored her. But she felt it, the eyes, the judgment, the disbelief. Like she was a stray dog in a room full of pedigrees. She reached Ayan's private office. The glass door slid open with a near-silent hiss.
He was already at his desk.
"You're 3 minutes early," he said without looking up. "You're welcome," she replied. A hint of a smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. He motioned to the seat across from him.
"Sit.
"We have ground rules." She sat, back straight, chin lifted. "1," he began, setting his pen down. "No emotions. This is not a mentorship. Not a savior story. You are here because you're efficient." "Understood."
2.
"You will speak the truth. Even if it's brutal. Especially if it's brutal." Zara tilted her head. "Is that why no one else dares to look you in the eye?" He met her gaze, cold, unreadable. "They're afraid of consequences." She leaned forward. "And I'm not." He didn't answer. But his eyes lingered on her a moment too long. The first task came swiftly, a meeting with the international board. Zara wasn't supposed to speak, just sit, take notes. But when one investor made a snide remark about their corporate charity liabilities, Zara's voice broke through before she could stop herself. "That so-called liability just exposed $5 million in theft and saved your public image," she said, eyes steady on the man. "But sure, call it charity." The boardroom fell silent. Ayan didn't interrupt. Later, after everyone had left, Zara braced for the reprimand. "You had no right to speak like that," he said quietly, standing by the window. "Then fire me." He turned slowly. "Is that what you want?" She didn't flinch.
"No."
"But I won't be a decoration." He studied her like he was searching for cracks.
But there weren't any.
She'd been broken before. This version of her was all steel and fire. "Good," he finally said. "Decorations bore me." Days passed. Then weeks. And with each one, the air between them shifted. He stopped calling her assistant. Started leaving post-it notes with handwritten thank yous. Once, she found coffee on her desk, exactly how she liked it. No name. But she knew. He watched her more often now. When she laughed, when she challenged someone in a meeting, when she touched a finger to her lip while deep in thought. But the chill in him never thawed. Not publicly. Until the gala. It was another glittering fundraiser, another evening of masks and glass smiles. Zara walked in wearing a borrowed black gown from a boutique that owed her a favor. Her hair swept into a bun. She looked nothing like a slum girl. She didn't know Ayan was already watching her from the top of the staircase. The way his hand clenched on the railing betrayed something. Hunger? Possession? He couldn't name it. But before he could reach her, someone else did. A junior executive, Ryan. Young, cocky, spoiled. He took her hand and leaned in too close. "You clean up nice," he said, voice slick with arrogance. "Wanna prove if you're just as sharp off the clock?" Zara pulled her hand away. "Try that again, and I'll file for harassment." He smirked. "You think you matter enough for anyone to care?" That's when Ayan arrived. The air turned deadly still. "Ryan," he said, voice like ice cracking. "You're relieved of your duties. Effective immediately." Ryan blanched. "But leave." Zara stared at him, breath caught. Ayan didn't look at her. He just walked past and said, quietly, "Come with me." She followed him to the balcony, heart hammering. He stood there for a long moment, staring out at the city. "You shouldn't let men like that near you," he said. Her voice was soft but firm. Then stop treating me like I need your protection. His jaw tightened. You think I care what happens to you? She stepped closer. I think you're scared you do. That was the moment. The tension between them, raw, electric, aching, spilled into the space like a secret too big to contain. But instead of touching her, he turned away. I warned you, he said roughly. No emotions. She looked at his back, silent for a heartbeat. Then whispered, too late. Theme: truth versus perception, betrayal versus trust. Emotional focus: cracks in control, fear of being used, past colliding with present. Dramatic purpose: the illusion of safety is broken. Zara discovers something about Ayan that redefines everything. The rain slammed against the windows of Khalid Tower, like it wanted to shatter them. Inside, Zara typed furiously in Ayan's private office, pretending not to feel the heat of his presence across the room. He hadn't said much since the gala, just sharp commands and clipped instructions, like that moment on the balcony had never happened. But she hadn't forgotten the way his voice trembled when he said, too late. She couldn't stop hearing it. He paced now, sleeves rolled up, jaw locked as he flipped through reports that didn't seem to matter. Something was off. And it wasn't just the weather. A sharp knock broke the silence. A suited man entered, someone Zara didn't recognize. He placed a sealed envelope on Ayan's desk, nodded once, and left. Zara expected Ayan to open it immediately. But he didn't. He just stared at it, as if what was inside already knew too much. It was hours later, after Ayan had left without a word, that curiosity won. Zara stayed behind. She wasn't proud of it, but something deep in her gut screamed, look. The envelope still sat there untouched. She reached for it, then hesitated. Her hand hovered over the flap. She told herself it was concern, that she had the right. She opened it. Inside, a report. Surveillance photos. Screenshots of messages. Financial transfers. And one name repeated at the top. Project Roxana. Target: Zara Nassim. Her breath caught. She scanned the pages, her job application flagged weeks before she ever met Ayan. Her background pulled. Her father's old employment file accessed. Her slum address monitored. A final page. Approach initiated under controlled encounter at gala event. Target displays emotional leverage. CEO proximity increasing. Her hands trembled. This wasn't chance. This wasn't a rescue. This was a setup. She was part of some test. Or worse, a calculated strategy. A pawn Ayan had pulled from the dirt to serve a purpose she hadn't even understood yet. She ran. Storm pounding outside. She burst from the tower, soaked to the bone before she even reached the street. Taxis blurred past. She didn't care. She walked, almost blindly, heart shattering with every step.
How dare he?
After everything, after defending him, trusting him, feeling something for him, she had been nothing more than a profile. A file. The next morning, she didn't show up. And I noticed. He waited. 10 minutes. 30. By an hour, he was calling his head of security. Where's Zara? The man hesitated. Sir, we tracked her phone. She's at the slum. Her old home. Ayan's expression darkened. Bring the car. He found her standing outside the crumbling one-room shelter she used to call home, arms crossed, hair damp from the rain, eyes hollow. She didn't look at him as he approached. You lied, she said without emotion. His voice was low. Zara. You investigated me, watched me, targeted me. I didn't intend to. Don't lie again.
He stopped.
For the first time, Ayan Khalid, the man who shattered competitors with a phone call, looked helpless. I read your file a month before we met, he said quietly. It was flagged in an internal ethics investigation. I saw your name. I remembered your father. But I didn't send anyone to follow you at the gala. That was coincidence. She laughed bitterly. So, you knew who I was before I even stepped into your world. You just waited until I humiliated myself in front of half the city before deciding I was what? Useful? I never planned this. But you let it happen. His voice cracked. I didn't know how to stop. She turned to face him finally. Her eyes were burning. You told me no emotions. But you studied mine. You pulled strings while pretending we were equals. I felt something too, he snapped, pain bleeding into his words. I tried to stay away, tried to bury it under control, but you kept showing up. Kept being real. And I didn't know how to handle that. Zara took a shaky breath. Then you don't deserve me. She turned and walked away. He didn't follow. Back in her slum, the rain began again. But this time, she didn't mind the cold. She had finally seen the man behind the mask. And she had walked away with her dignity intact, even if her heart had cracked wide open. Theme: emotional reckoning, shattered illusions, exposed hearts. Emotional focus: confrontation between vulnerability and pride. Dramatic purpose: the couple's deepest fears collide, resulting in heartbreak or awakening. The ballroom was gold, glass, and glowing envy. Wealth shimmered in every corner: silk gowns, diamond watches, champagne laughter that didn't quite reach anyone's eyes. Ian Khalid stood at the center of it all, looking like the king of a world he couldn't stand. But his mind wasn't on stocks or mergers. It was on the empty chair beside him. Zara's chair. She had been gone 3 days. And every hour felt like oxygen leaking from his lungs. Across the room, whispers rose as a woman entered, head held high, dress borrowed, dignity worn like armor.
Zara.
Her sudden appearance sliced through the crowd like a razor. She shouldn't have come. She knew it. But she was done hiding. Ian saw her instantly. The storm behind his eyes cracked, but he didn't move.
Not yet.
His pride was an anchor, heavy and suffocating. Their eyes locked. The music faded beneath the roar of unspoken pain. She walked straight to him. No smile, no softness. Tell me, she said, voice low but sharp, in this sea of women who worship your power, why me? His throat tightened. You want the truth? She nodded. Because you didn't need anything from me. You weren't impressed. You weren't afraid. You were just there. Kind.
Real.
And that terrified me. A flash of disbelief crossed her face, then fury. So you pushed me away, watched me suffer. Let me believe it was fate while you pulled strings like a puppeteer. You think I wasn't suffering? His voice rose. People turned. Every second with you, I wanted more. And I hated myself for it. Gasps echoed. Cameras flashed. The crowd smelled scandal. Zara stepped closer. Her words were for him alone now. Then you never loved me. You loved how I made you feel. That's not the same. His jaw clenched. You think I don't know that? A beat. Then prove me wrong, she whispered. Say you'll walk away from all of this for me. For something real. Silence. The crowd held its breath.
He didn't speak.
Not a word. Her heart shattered in the pause. Zara turned. Each step away from him was a death she refused to mourn. The media ran wild the next day. Khalid CEO's public breakdown. Mysterious slum girl at center of drama. Beauty or betrayal? Who is Zara Nassim? Power, lies, and love in the Billionaire's Denver. Ian didn't read them. He couldn't. He was drowning in silence, his penthouse echoing with everything he hadn't said. He looked at the ring on his finger. The marriage was real. Legal. But barely lived. Because love required more than status and guilt. It required surrender. And he had never learned how. Zara, meanwhile, returned to the slums. Not to hide, but to breathe. Her pride was intact.
Her tears had dried.
But her heart? Still bleeding. She'd faced the storm and walked through it. Now she waited to see if Ian would ever learn how to follow. Theme: redemption, healing, reclaiming self-worth. Emotional focus: Ian's reckoning, Zara's decision. Dramatic purpose: deliver emotional closure or open a door for hopeful reconciliation. Rain poured over the city like penance, steady, cold, relentless. Ian stood outside the slum alley where it had all begun. No chauffeur. No designer suit. Just soaked clothes and a heartbeat pounding with fear. She might slam the door in his face. She should. But he had to try. Zara stood behind her curtain unmoving. She'd seen the sleek black car arrive. She'd watched him step out. No umbrella, no bodyguards. Just him, alone, drenched.
Why now?
Why? After the silence, the humiliation, the ache. Her hands trembled, but she opened the door anyway. Their eyes met, and for the first time he looked small. Not in stature. In spirit. The CEO was gone. What remained was the man. I don't deserve to be here, he said, voice rough. But I couldn't breathe unless I tried.
She didn't speak.
He swallowed. I was raised to believe love was weakness. That emotions were liabilities. That if you want something, you control it. I tried to control you. You did, she said quietly. And you hurt me. His voice cracked. I know. A silence settled between them, heavy with everything they hadn't said. I kept thinking, he went on. Maybe you were the one mistake I'd learned to live without. But I was wrong. You're the only thing I want to do right. Zara looked away. Part of her still ached to run. But another part, the quiet one, the hopeful one, had waited for this. I didn't fall for the CEO, she said. I fell for the man who gave his coat to a shivering boy. The one who didn't speak, but listened. Who looked at the world like he was afraid of it. He blinked, stunned. You saw me before I even saw myself. And now I need to ask, she said, voice firmer. Do you see me, Ian? Not as your charity. Not your guilt.
Me.
He stepped forward, hands trembling. I see you, Zara. All of you. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving it, if you'll let me. They stood there, in the doorway of a broken world, with a healing heart between them. She didn't say yes. But she didn't say no. She let him in. Not just through the door, but into the space where forgiveness begins. 1 week later, Ian announced his resignation as CEO. He cited personal redemption in his speech. The world mocked. Investors panicked. But he didn't flinch. He stayed in the slums for weeks, quietly funding clinics, building schools, mending lives without cameras or press. And beside him, quietly, sometimes watching from a distance, was Zara. They didn't declare love. They rebuilt trust. Final scene. Zara walked onto the rooftop where it had all started, where she'd once sat alone under the moonlight, wondering if the world would ever see her. She turned. Ian stood there, no suit, no mask, just a man holding 2 cups of chai. You remembered, she said. I never forgot, he replied. He held out a hand. She hesitated, then took it. And in that moment, under the stars, 2 broken people began again. Not as CEO and slum girl, but as equals. As home.